What's going on, guys, and welcome to NYTOP Expedition. Today we're going to be looking at the fender flares from NYTOP for the 3rd gen Tundra. So if you have a Tundra and you put some aftermarket wheels or tires on there, they may be sticking out farther than your factory ones and sticking out past your factory fender flares. These are going to be a direct replacement for your factory ones. It's going to stick out about 2.5 inches more than your factory fender flares, and it's going to cover up your tires if they are sticking out. This is going to help for rock chips, mud, stuff like that that's going to be flinging up onto your paint. So when it comes to installing these, they are going to install with the factory hardware that goes all along the perimeter of the wheel well, and then they are also going to be mounting with some double-sided tape on the top side of the fender flare. NYTOP sells these fender flares in 3 different options. They have a black primered polyurethane, so you can put those on just as they come, or if you want, they are ready to be paint matched to the body of your Tundra. They also have 2 different options of carbon fiber. They have the gloss and they have the matte as well. In this video, we're going to be installing a set of gloss carbon fiber ones on our Tundra. So out of the box, you're going to have your 4 flares. You're also going to have a bunch of double-sided tape that we're going to install on the fender flare before it goes onto the truck. And then you're also going to get 4 packets of adhesion promoter. When you pull these out of the box, it might be a little hard to tell the difference between what is going on the rear of your Tundra and what's going on the front. The biggest giveaway is the rear is going to have 2 holes here in the center of the fender flare where the front ones do not. It's going to be a little bit harder to distinguish which one goes on the driver's side and which one goes on the passenger side, but I'll go ahead and show you how to find that out. So for the rear, on one end of the fender flare, you're going to see 2 holes really close to each other. That's going to go towards the back of the truck. And then for the front ones, it's a little bit more difficult. So where the holes are on the front ones, you're going to see the gap between the holes and the edge of the fender flare different from one side to the other. The side that has the smaller gap is going to go towards the front of your truck. Closer look at the front fender flare just so you have a better idea of what I'm talking about. You can see we have 3 holes here, and you can see the gap here between the edge of the flare and the hole is a little bit wider than on this side. You can see the gap here is a lot smaller. So these holes are going to be going towards the front of the Tundra. So when it comes to fender flares, these are going to be a little bit higher on the price scale, but the quality is really nice. I did a quick test fit on the front one just to see how it fit, and the edge that goes against the paint, it fits almost perfectly. Even without the double-sided tape on there, it laid nice and flat against the fender. So the fit is definitely very nice. And as far as the carbon fiber goes, it's real carbon fiber. It's not just a skin on top. And the finish on top of the carbon is very nice. There's like very minimal to no orange peel, and there's almost no imperfections in the carbon as well. So let's go ahead and get the OEM fender flares off. It's going to be pretty easy. All you're going to need is a 10mm socket and a ratchet, and the rest of it is just held on with clips. So let's go ahead and get the 9 bolts out that is holding the front fender flares on. So once you get those 9 bolts out, you can simply just come to the front and we'll grab it here and just start pulling it straight out. It'll pop. And then we can slowly work our way up, putting our fingers in between the fender and the fender flare. These will pop out pretty easily. And that's it. So with the fender flare off, obviously, before you do anything, you want to wash this area down. And then I just have some alcohol here. I'm going to wipe this area as well, making sure it's super clean. And then we can get the fender flare prepped for installation. And just so you guys know, these are a 315/70/17, and they are a 17 by 8.5 0 offset wheel. So if you have something similar, you can get the same look that we are going with here. Back over at the table, we have our front flare here. We're going to flip this thing over and we're going to get the backside prepped. So we have 4 adhesion promoter pads. We're going to use one of these on the backside of this and get it prepped for the 3M tape. So with the back of the flare prepped with the adhesion promoter, I went ahead and opened up one of the 3M tape packs. We're gonna go ahead now and run a line of tape all the way around the outer edge, and then we are going to put another thing of tape on top of that tape, and that's going to get the thickness just right so that when you install it on the truck, the tape sticks properly to the body. So with the first layer of tape applied to the fender flare, we'll go ahead and peel off the backing for that. And then we'll get the second layer of tape attached to the first layer. So we'll try to get this laid right on top of what we just did. All right, so we have both layers of tape on the fender flare. Now we're ready to go install this. First thing we're gonna do is grab the backing to the second layer of tape that we just put on. And we're only gonna pull off maybe about an inch, inch and a half, just so you have enough to stick out here. We're gonna fold it over and have it stick out. We'll do that same thing on this side as well. So now that we have the front flare completely prepped, we can go ahead now and get it fitted up to the Tundra. So we'll get it in position and we'll get those bolts all started lightly. Now I'm going to lightly snug these all down to hold the flare in place. I'm going to make sure not to over tighten these because you will crack the fender flare. So once we have those bolts back into the fender flare, we are only installing 6 out of the 9 bolts that we took out. 3 on this side, 3 on this side. There is none going in the top section of the fender flare. But once we have those snug and we have the flare positioned where we like it, we are going to grab the double-sided tape here that is sticking out, and we can go ahead and pull that out all the way around the fender flare, and then we'll go ahead and stick it down to the body. Got the front flare all finished up. Now we can go ahead and do the back. Same deal, we're gonna take out the 10mm bolts. There's only 8 on the rear as opposed to 9 on the front. So there's 5 bolts that hold the flare on, and then once we get the flare off, there's an additional 3 underneath that we'll have to remove as well. As you can see with the fender flare off, now we have another 2 10mm bolts right here in the center, and then we have an additional one down here behind the back of the tire. Again, make sure it's nice and clean. Now we're gonna go ahead and prep the back side of the flare, just like we did on the front ones. Get the adhesion promoter on there, and then 2 layers of the double-sided tape. All right, we have our tape on there, and we have our end sticking out. So we'll go ahead and get this lightly into position, and we'll get these bolts started here. The 2 bolts here up top might be a little difficult to get started. When you take these out, there is a lot of pressure inwards. So as soon as those bolts come out, the bedside kind of pops in just a little bit. So you might have to, there is a metal tab back here, you can push this out, and that will allow you to get everything realigned and get the bolt started. So now we'll just go ahead and lightly snug everything in place. Once we have all those snugged up and you're happy with how this one looks as well, we'll go ahead and peel off the backing to the tape, stick it down, and then we can go ahead and fully tighten down our bolts. Just again, want to be careful with these. You don't want to over tighten them. One, you're tightening into plastic, and two, this is carbon fiber, so you will crack it if you over tighten it. All right, guys, we just finished up on the NYTOP fender flares for the 3rd Gen Tundra, and we got it pulled outside to get a better look. Let us know down in the comments what you think about these, and if you want to pick a set of these up, whether it's for paint protection, to cover up the wider, more aggressive tires that you have, or if you just like the carbon fiber look, you can grab a set of these at YodaExpedition.com. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.